Okay, we should be live. Let me know if you could hear me in the comments. Quick little stream here. Do we got some music? Let's see. Oh shit. Let's do. That sounds nice. Okay. In the comments, we'll shout them out real quick. We got magnetized plasma, and we also got. Let's see everything they said. Did it game over? They say. It's a time predeterminism is brought up in the UFO debate. I think the government is able to predict the future literally. I think so too. Maybe some advanced AI models. Either they're using Tesla's secret and are actually seeing through time, or they're using ASI to predict future events. Yep. Lil Lun, friend of the show, with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Just a sticker. Hell yeah. Joseph says, "Dis real." Oh, yes, it is. This is happening. So yeah, the basis, basically, this is about Grusch is recommending various people, apparently people in the background. This isn't even, I'm not trying to make this like a hit piece or anything like that. I just personally find it curious given his role. He's working with Burlison, all that stuff. So I guess let's get into it. Turn down the music a little bit. Okay. Might leave this up though. Or Cheesy reposted the stream. Thank you, sir. All right, actually, no, maybe we shouldn't have any music here. We're doing it live. We're having fun. All right, so let's just get into it. We got Burlison. He spoke about this on a few separate occasions. Yeah, and I just find it interesting what people believe is going on here.
I believe that there's so much.
So this is Rep Burlison. This is the first time he kind of lets us know that like Grusch recommended this guy to him. Yeah, we'll just listen to it together.
Truth in the Bible. In fact, so I'll tell you guys something that I have. David Grusch put me in contact with an individual who blew my mind. I don't know if I can believe him, but it's an individual who has aliens talk to him, and this individual went from being a Jewish person to being an atheist in his life. When he started talking to what he calls his aliens, or angels, they started talking to him. He has these strange experiences, and then his wife will transcribe what he says, and a lot of it is predictions that come true. And what he told me is he became a Christian. He started believing in Jesus because these things that were talking to him said, yes, Jesus is real. Jesus, I mean, was a real person. He really did perform these miracles, and this guy, and he was the Messiah, and he is part of the divine council with God. And then a guy who didn't even know.
Okay, so now this is another kind of thing to think about, right? Does Grusch believe this? Is Grusch pushing disinfo? I don't know, but part of this narrative that he's willing to put a congressman in touch with, right, on this topic, deals with someone who believes they're in contact with angels, and then part of that whole narrative is that Jesus was real. I'm not trying to knock people who believe in Jesus or don't. I just find it worth noting, right, that like this is what's kind of going on here. David Grusch, the whistleblower, currently working for Burlison. I still like him. There's some concerns here and there, but putting on a congressman on this topic to somebody who, like I said, speaks to angels and Jesus is on the divine council. Let's run that back a little bit.
Things that were talking to him said, yes, Jesus is real. Jesus, I mean, was a real person. He really did perform these miracles, and this guy, and he was the Messiah, and he is part of the divine council with God. And then a guy who didn't even know what the divine council was, the Bible, suddenly was being told through. So anyway, that was an interesting thing. So let me go back to your question. When you ask like all these ancient, like megalithic sites like Machu Picchu, or the pyramids the pyramids that are in, whether in the Aztec Empire, the Inca, and then you've got pyramids of Egypt. I mean, it's ubiquitous across the world, and some of these sites have got stone structures at their base that there's even modern technology and modern machinery would have a very difficult time putting in place and making it that perfect. It suggests to me that there were ancient civilizations that were extremely advanced. And what happens is you do, and I think Tim Alberino is right. Like, you have cataclysm occur, whether it's a comet that hits, or it's the poles that the polar the electromagnetic the
Noah's
magnetic
Ark.
poles.
Noah's Ark, Eric.
Yes, and so it creates the Noah's Ark experience, right? And so if you read the Bible, pre-Noah was a pretty wild period in world history. And that pre-Noah period, you had, and this where it fits in with the UFO phenomenon, okay? And when David Grusch is telling me that there's a Nordic type of aliens that crossbreeds with humans.
So another thing we're hearing from Grush, right? There's a Nordic type of alien that crossbreeds with humans. This is a different lore tree than the guy who's summoning angels that say Jesus is real. Just, like I said, just worth keeping track of. Oh, we also got a super chat from Flathouse Media. You and Tupa are the only ones doing good UFO coverage. Thank you, sir. We work hard. We also got our friend Nerd City in the chat. What's up, Nerd City? He's one of those guys. Yep. Lovely mod Jess is here. Thank you. Somebody to ask, is this the Tupa space? No, we're going to cover that next though, because he brings him up again. The lady, I don't think this is Chris Bledsoe. In the next video, he gives more identifiers, but yeah.
And creates this crossbreed. In the Bible, it describes this. In Genesis 6, it says that basically angels looked down and lusted after the women of earth. They decided to come together, and they came down and they copulated with so basically they created hybrids, and the hybrids were called the Nephilim. And the Nephilim were considered giants or mighty men, basically demigods. And so the question is, like, when you hear this, it's like, it sounds like just wild, but it's in the Bible. And if you look through not just the Bible, but what about Greek mythology? You look at every like major historical document. It always goes back to some tale about a god that comes down, creates a half breed, and then that half breed rules. And so I don't like, to me, that's a fascinating overlap that consistently happens. And so what Tim Alberino says is that, look, the Bible describes angels as non-earth creatures. At the end of the day, that means they're alien. They're not from planet Earth. They're from somewhere else. And we tend to think of them as like ethereal, that they're just these like shadow type figures, but they do have physical form, because if you read the Bible, they have physical form. They often actually look weird because they're startling when people see them. And they always have to say, "Do not be afraid," when somebody sees them. So that tells you that they don't always look human. And so it's an interesting overlap with this whole the history of um, our civilization potentially.
I'm with you on that. And
Yeah, shout out Diligent. That was Diligent Space. He elaborated it more on Tupa's infamous space, which we'll cover here next. Jim Howard says, I really lost faith in Grush. He's just another guy, all talk and no evidence. It's starting to piss me off. Someone else had something interesting. What was it? Oh, yeah. Canusapak says, a lot of this stuff comes from the Book of Enoch, which was not really considered a Bible. Yeah, so that is interesting. That's making a big jump lately. Also, Holiday Jesus is here. Let's go to the next one here.
One of the more interesting conversations that I've had was from an individual who was highly recommended to me. He came to my office, and he was a high profile, very wealthy individual, very successful. And his entry into this phenomenon is that he thought he was going crazy. He was hearing voices, he was receiving messages, and he was a atheist at the time. And he was raised Jewish, And the beings that were talking to him started predicting things. He started experiencing things that demonstrated that what he was experiencing was not just him.
So that's another element of it, right? So within this story, this guy's talking to angels. The angels tell him Jesus is real, part of the Galactic Council. And these angels are able to predict the future, and the future comes true. So does that mean Grusch believes this? Let me know in the chat if you think Grusch believes this, or I've heard some people say too when I bring this up that like maybe he's just trying to like get the congressman more activated in a framework that like really resonates with him. Which even then, if that's the case, kind of malicious. Let's continue.
Him or what he just delusional thoughts. And he was told by whoever or whatever that was talking to him over the course of the last couple of years, he's learned that, and what is his paradigm is that what these things are telling him is that Jesus a was a real figure that was the Son of God and transcended his human nature and was capable of doing things beyond he basically hacked the system, if you will, almost like a Neo. This is the way that this guy describes it. So this guy went from being
I forget if he said it here or not. He might have already said it, but so this guy lives in DC. He's well known in DC. He doesn't want to be famous on UFO shit. And he's able to do all this stuff hacked. He's like a Neo. Interesting.
a raised Jewish turned atheist, having never read the Bible, to suddenly start believing that this character Jesus might be the real thing, and which compelled him to read the Bible. So,
in the last piece, if I'm not mistaken, David Grusch put you onto this guy, right?
I don't want to say because I don't want to.
I got that autistic memory, Burlison. You definitely did say it was Grusch, but he did get his. I feel like every time he hops into space, he gets in trouble. So I get it, but he definitely did say it was him.
I don't want to.
Is this guy just a everyday guy, or is he like someone public that we would know the name of, or just like
No,
a normal
you
dude?
wouldn't know his name, but he's prominent in DC. And he's very successful,
but not prominent in ufology.
No, he wants nothing to do with his name being mentioned anywhere.
Well, I respect that, but that's a very compelling story. We're gonna have people guessing for years on that for sure.
Let me follow up with him. I was just gonna say, one reason, like I think that UFO disclosure is hindered because the interdimensional aspect of it. And one thing that gets confused is just because there's physical craft or physical bodies.
It's froze on me. Let's see. Uh-oh, can you hear me? Uh-oh.
They assume, well, this can't be angels. This can't be, something that's spiritual, because in the Bible it's very clear. It says, "Be careful who you entertain, for you may be entertaining angels unaware." They were physical.
Taylor,
and when they
our
came
Christian
into daughters
friend.
of men, they were physical to have physical relations with them. That's in Genesis 6. And they also taught humans metallurgy and Enoch. So they taught them how to work metals and have technology. These are fallen angels. So just because there's something physical doesn't mean it's from another planet.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, whenever I was speaking with this individual, I personally believe that he's not talking to angels. He's talking to fallen angels, who are deceiving him, because the Bible is
Another huge data point, in my opinion. Not only is Grusch introducing the congressman to this guy, the congressman thinks that this guy might be talking to demons. What? Potential red flag? Maybe, maybe not. I see Chase's in the chat. I sent him the StreamYard link. Maybe he wants to hop in here, get a little word in. Maybe not. Yeah, real weird. I wonder. I wish while it was happening, I didn't even think to ask it. But if I could go back in time, I'd ask him to elaborate on like what specifically. Could you get a little more elaborate on why you think they're fallen angels? But let's see.
Genesis 6. And they also taught humans metallurgy and Enoch. So they taught them how to work metals and have technology. These are fallen angels. So just because there's something physical doesn't mean it's from another planet.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, whenever I was speaking with this individual, I personally believe that he's not talking to angels, he's talking to fallen angels
Right.
who are deceiving him, because the Bible is very clear that even the fallen angels believe in Jesus and will not deny that he is the Son of God.
Which aligns with the statements or claims that invoking the name of Jesus would end an abduction or an experience kind of right there. Now, these are reports. We don't, I mean, you know, it's almost unproven, but it aligns with this stuff. I find it at times how close, you know, religion is to ufology. And there's just a kind of a layer of ignorance between the two. They don't, you know what I mean? They're not always sharing information. People don't know how closely they align. I got to thank Taylor a ton for asking these questions.
Great question, Taylor. Usually, like, you know, she'll be pushing her Bible thumping and she annoys people, but like Burlison, I feel like that's his favorite question, and honestly, a great data dump on this situation with this guy in DC. Put your guesses. I literally don't even know who it could be. So, what are the data points? Let's put them all out there. Born Jewish, turned atheist, became Christian as a result of these experiences. He initially thought they were aliens, but then they're angels. Wealthy man in DC that people would know, kind of in DC area, but not anything to do with UFOs, and wants nothing to do with this subject. Sounds like, but he's like a back channel guru type thing, it feels like. I don't think it's Chris Bledsoe. And is there any other important data points there? Oh, can see or predict the future via these angels. Jesus was real and he's on the Galactic Council. Oh, Ed with the $2 super sticker. Thank you. Oh, it's Matt Ford. Nice. Thank you. Oh, yes. Great point. The adversary. The wife transcribes the messages. So what does that indicate? Does that indicate like a speaking in tongues type situation? Like he's actually being possessed by these things? He's channeling these things beyond? Yeah, I don't know. And it's definitely not Chris Bledsoe. But I'll put this up real quick before we move on. Bledsoe and Burlison have hung out. Let's see. Here we go. See that? There we go. Boom. That was them, I think, a month ago. Burlison, just pray for Burlison. Hopefully he doesn't get burnt out and have like a Lou Reviews level crash out. But you could tell he's just excited about all this stuff, you know? So I definitely appreciate the work he's doing. But he's definitely very excited about all this stuff. And that's how you get burned. But okay, let's go back here. And then what do we got next? We got a little bit of Luna, you know, and I feel like, is it disrespectful? I feel like if we're going to go Luna, we got to hit the...
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? They all got SCIF flu, and we call it SCIF flu, meaning like the day that the SCIF was open, that we reserved it. We're like, we're here. Like, come on, come brief us. They get sick or
and
their
they
dog dies.
So they ghost you?
They ghost us. Yeah, so I'm like, well, if you're not going to tell me to SCIF, then you're full of crap.
Or you're scared for your life because you're just a scientist.
I'm not interested in hearing about people's books. I'm interested in hearing about whether or not people can answer the questions, because we are trying to get this into the archive.
All right, so let's get to Luna. She said some angel type stuff.
I think it's...
So this is her after, like, this is January 2024. Grusch had like a closed SCIF with some of these people, and here's what she had to say after meeting with Grusch.
It's incredibly important to listen to the specific words that Grusch uses. You know, Grusch never said extraterrestrial or alien. He said interdimensional. It has become apparent that there is a movement, whether it's within the intelligence community or not, to prevent us from finding out more information on this.
Luna would not expand when asked what interdimensional meant, whether this was something which could bend time and space. Other lawmakers accuse the government of deliberately trying to keep Congress in the dark.
They send us bureaucrats who don't know on purpose. I'll put it that way. If I wanted to put any doubts here at rest, I'm sure there are people who can.
All right. Sorry, Grothman. You're not as hot as Luna, so we're going to just act like that.
Well, some of them are written by...
All right. Here's Luna on Rogan talking about... let's put on the music for this one. We're still probably going to get hit with the copyright on it, but fuck it. We're going to pause it too and comment on it. Rogan's pretty good about it, though.
Prophets, and then, but I mean, Enoch is apparently supposed to predate.
There's that Enoch.
The time of Genesis and
well,
talk.
The nuttiest one is Ezekiel.
I'm telling you, Enoch is even crazier than Ezekiel.
Like, explain the nuttiness of the Book of Enoch to people.
Well, it's okay. So if you read it, it talks about the fall of angels, thus creating really the precursor of civilization that led to the first flood. I think that when you even go into potential
Book of Enoch, I feel like making a huge comeback. She's all into her angels too. Let's see. She's got let me see, Luna angels. She's always posting about angels. Here's her a few months ago. Here's yeah, what is this? Actual representation of angels. Is this the Enochian thing? I feel like it's all connected. Maybe not. Maybe it is. All right, let's go here.
essentially the technology that was given to mankind by these angels. It talks about the hidden beliefs and theories in astronomy, etc., metalworkings, all of it. But it really does explain, you know, you were talking about earlier how you have a lot of these religions around the world that kind of say the same thing. This is kind of the OG text that leads to those stories that we're hearing from many religions around the world.
On my to-do list is to find out what L. Ron Hubbard thought of the Book of Enoch. I feel like that's an important puzzle piece.
To talk about angels mixing with mankind and then seeding a super essentially race of humans that essentially were responsible for basically damning mankind to the flood. I mean, you hear about stuff in Greek and Roman mythology, people who had these super crazy powers, and you talk about it out loud and it sounds crazy, but that's what the book says. And then the fact that it was taken out and then it's poo-pooed.
You know, we're standing Luna because, you know, she is kind of low key at war right now with Liz.
I've reached out to some of the biggest names in UFO lore, okay? They all got SCIF flu, and we call it SCIF flu, meaning like the day that the...
But she's into some of this stuff too, this angel stuff.
You have one of the oldest religions in the world, be it the Ethiopians, that actually still have it. You have, you know, the Catholic Church that has books that are missing out of the King James Version. I'm just saying that, you know, when you read it, you should read it and decide for yourself. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Don't listen to what you're saying, but truly give it a chance and see what you have to say. And then, you know, you're going back to this whole concept of if you have this information pertaining to UAPs, whatever they might be, the origins. I mean, if you have a understanding of what Enoch was talking about, kind of makes
Enoch, we out here Enochian.
sense.
You know, the really old stuff is very strange.
The Orthodox, I'm telling you, the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible, I actually had a staffer that went to Ethiopia. She was on a church trip and she actually brought me back a copy and she's like, you can translate it via Google Translation. So kudos to...
That's interesting. I didn't know that. She had a staffer. She's got her own little Anunnaki out there, dude. Like the Nazis and like Indiana Jones type stuff. She's sending out her staffers to Ethiopia. The Enochian stuff. I like to be on Luna's Anunnaki. Hit me up, Luna.
The modern day technology. So I have it in my office. And actually, when I did my swearing in, I actually did my swearing in on the Ethiopian Orthodox Bible.
Wow.
That's cool. It's direct translation.
That's kind of crazy.
So yeah, swearing in on the Book of Enoch. What does that say? You know, and like I said, we're still shilling Luna, but her last name isn't even Luna. It's Meyerhofer. And she changed it to Luna, Moon. Is there any significance to that?
This is nuts.
I think we're probably going to be responsible for like the Book of Enoch sales probably increasing on Amazon.
Well, I'm going to buy it. I'm
Good.
going to buy it. I need to read it now.
You'll trip
'cause
out.
I'll buy anything
if
you
read
sell me,
Enoch
Luna.
And then follow about the fall of mankind and the angels with, you know, and this is Christian theology, right? So like angels came down, rebelled against God, interbred with humankind. That would be, I think, a good starting point for what potentially the Anunnaki were.
Damn. You know what I got to do? I got to get my friend Taylor in here. The Christian lady who got Burlison to say that stuff. And we'll do maybe something about Enoch because I feel like I don't know too much about it. It's coming up all the time now. Is there anything? Okay, so there's one more thing. I think that's it for this though.
Good to be here.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a sidebar, kind of not really, because it's kind of the greater topic of Grusch recommending stuff. So we learned this from our good friend Matt Ford, friend of the show. That I guess Grusch recommended this guy named Reed Summers, who seems like a nice guy, to Matt Ford. I guess we'll just play this first, and then I'll say kind of why this is interesting in relation to the stream.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've been chatting for a while about having you on the show, and you know how I found out about you. Interestingly enough, so I've known David Grusch for quite some time, even before he was public. And I was asking him one day, who would be someone that maybe is not on my radar that would be a really great guest, and he immediately brought your name up. He's like, you got to get this Reed guy on. He's doing really amazing work, and yeah, so thanks for joining.
So let me go ahead and pull this up. So this is Reed Summers. He's the son of Marshall Vian Summers, and you know, I'm a UFO nerd, so I like to watch all the UFO shows. And then especially the kind of like disclosure, what's the word we call it? Disclosure industrial complex shows like Disclosure Tonight and Matt Ford, right? These people that are like really closely aligned with like Lou Elizondo and whatnot, and they're like the kind of mouthpieces for these like back channel messaging operations they got going on, and sometimes harassment and stuff too. Just to kind of see like what's going on. So to me, I was like, wait, what? Grusch is recommending Matt Ford because this guy like kind of had a small podcast at the time. I was like, it's kind of obscure. Come to find out that his dad, Marshall Vian Summers, let me see, I'm trying to pull up. He did the Allies of Humanity channeling. Let me find this 1 second. And by the way, too, it's not even like a sins of the father type thing. Like Marshall or Reed here, I think I've seen videos of him promoting his dad's stuff. And it's not to say they're evil either or anything like that. But here we go. I think this is it. So this is the Allies of Humanity briefing. And this is the official website for it. Book 1. Book 2. So basically the TLDR is this guy, Marshall Vian Summers, allegedly channeled these messages from like some galactic council thing in the 90s. They live in Colorado, which is interesting because that's where Grusch is from. Oh, it's taking forever to load. But what's interesting to me is that it's like a different kind of lore altogether than the initial guy we talked about, this DC guy. And hopefully we can get it here. I don't know why it's not loading. Oh well, maybe we could find a video or something while we. This one here. This website's working. It seems. Is this? Can you see this? So this guy Marshall Vian Summers. Yeah, I guess he. About. Let's go to the about there. So this is again the guy who Grusch recommended. This is his dad. In the fall of 1981, at the age of 32, Marshall Vian Summers had a direct encounter with a mysterious voice in which he was instructed to begin to receive and to record their messages for the world. Over the decades since a vast revelation for humanity has unfolded, at times slowly and at times in great torrents. During many of these long years, he has had to proceed with the support of only a few individuals, not knowing what this growing revelation would mean and where it would ultimately lead. After 15 years of receiving teachings and books, it was revealed that Marshall Vian Summers is the prophet and messenger for a divine revelation regarding humanity's emergence into a universe of intelligent life and the hidden reality of contact taking place in the world today. Marshall's message also contains an urgent call to prepare for great waves of change now facing the world. These major changes include resource depletion, catastrophic climate change, environmental degradation, escalating conflict, as well as an intervention by forces from beyond this world seeking to take control of us. So yeah, this is part of his lore. And it's actually, I kind of do like his like worldview, only in the sense of that like we can't be like Stephen Greer about it and just act like everyone's our friend out there. Like they are doing some bad things. There does seem to be some kind of weird submersiveness going on with some of these entities, at least. What I don't necessarily agree with or I find interesting is that this part here that he said, it was revealed that Marshall Vian Summers is the prophet and messenger of a divine revelation. Right, so this is a separate guy, mind you, than the one in DC that Grusch is putting people onto. Just run this back again and we'll read some comments.
Good to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining us. We've been chatting for a while about having you on the show, and how I found out about you. Interestingly enough, so I've known David Grusch for quite some time, even before he was public. And I was asking him one day, who would be someone that maybe is not on my radar that would be a really great guest, and he immediately brought your name up. He's like, you got to get this Reed guy on. He's doing really amazing work. And so thanks for joining.
All right. Oh, Lil Lun hooking me up today. Thank you. Are you a secret little handler here? I'm down though. Keep it coming. Your reporting provides great insight. What's your personal view on what's really happening? Is there a hidden truth behind the finger pointing at angels and aliens, or is something deeper at play? Big picture, I think there's definitely a non-human intelligence thing coming around, messing with people throughout history. The where it gets messy is I personally think they could affect our emotions, our perceptions, all this stuff. So like every encounter that anybody has with one of these things has to be viewed through that lens, right? Like, can you even take this at face value? And that like even the face value stuff, they're usually being weird about like the messaging coming from these things. So on top of that, though, I do think there's a lot of groups that are really interested in disclosure as a concept. And it's kind of like, I don't even know if this is real or not, but apparently you've heard the story of like, I guess when the conquistadors were conquering Mexico or something like that, like they weaponized knowledge of an eclipse and used it to their advantage and like used it in some battle or something. Maybe that didn't even happen, but the concept is there. I feel like there's a lot of groups that are viewing disclosure like that eclipse, like there's this thing coming. And if they're able to get their messaging right and their people right and their people positioned right when this flip happens for the world, it could be very advantageous for their religion or their dividends, right? So we got defense contractors, I think, positioning. We got cults like Scientology positioning. The Catholics are doing it. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's positioning for this like little flip that's about to happen. And I think just being aware of that is very important. Yeah. And then so let's go to some of the comments. JK Philly says, ding. And thank you again, Lil Lun. Good morning, UFO. Wow. Thank you for the support for the show. Yes, thank you. Tim Taylor, are we going to talk about the agreements that are made between NHI and US Gov? Yeah, I'm down to talk about that at some point. Probably not today though. That was kind of the last thing. Let me see. Was there anything else I wanted to show on this website? Actually, you know what? Let's go through a little more of this bio because I haven't really done the whole thing before yet. Okay. Marshall Vian Summers has given the last 36 years of his life to receiving and quietly teaching a new message from God. Yeah, they have a whole little compound out there in Colorado. They seem nice. I mean, I didn't see anything that was like, I'm forced here against my will. But there's definitely a group of people out there in Colorado who all live together who believe that this man is a prophet of the divine. And Grusch is recommending this guy to Matt Ford. For much of the year, he works in Rocky Mountains of the United States, where he lives in seclusion, surrounded by his family and close companions. On rare occasions, Marshall travels to other places in the United States and abroad to provide the warning, the blessing, and the preparation contained within the new message. Early years. Marshall was ignited in spirituality at an early age through his experiences in nature. As a young man, his journeys through the wilderness of North America contributed to his mysterious education. After graduating from UC Berkeley, he became a teacher for blind children. During this time, he began to experience and rely upon an inner voice to guide him in his work. Acknowledged for his talents in this field. Actually, that is kind of an important point. An inner voice, so that's the first little paranormal thing for him. Is that somehow related to him teaching blind children? Interesting. Acknowledged for his talents. Also, inner voice, I think, is like a Mormon thing. Acknowledged for his talents in this field, he was offered the opportunity to make this his life's work. Yet the inner voice compelled him to decline and to re-enter the wilderness for many months. Oh, shit. Go to the wilderness, Marshall. Following this time of reckoning and relinquishment, he returned to the world of people and culture and began to teach the principles of self-knowledge, which he did for 7 years. Oh, shoot. So I didn't realize he was already on this guru kick before the 90s. When I initially read it, I thought it was just in the 90s he got these things. Let's continue. In 1981, at the age of 32, he had a direct encounter with the unseen ones, the angelic presence who had been guiding and preparing him all along. This encounter forever altered the course of his life and initiated him into a deeper relationship with them, requiring that he surrenders his life to God. Soon after this encounter, Marshall knew he had to leave his students and his teachings, his relationships and his home in the city to wander again. This was a difficult, inexplicable, and solitary period for him. His wandering led him to a retreat in the desert of the American Southwest, where the angelic presence came to him again, and so began the long process of receiving God's new message for humanity. Okay, so here we go. We got God, capital G. So I don't know if he's viewing within the Christian framework. This guy lives in Colorado, so it's a completely different guy than the DC guy. Let's hear a little bit, Adam, from him.
My name is Marshall Vian Summers, and I am presenting what I believe to be an important, what I call greater community awareness and understanding about the people of Earth and our presence in a greater community full of intelligent life, and what our emergence into that greater community will mean for us and can mean for us, both the opportunities and the hazards involved in perhaps the greatest event in human history. And my background really is more as a minister. I left my work as a special ed teacher for the blind about almost 40 years ago, began to teach interguidance, had a personal revelation in 1982, which confronted me with the voice that had been counseling me both in my interguidance work and as a special educator. And that had a tremendous impact on altering the course of my life. And since then, I have been receiving a vast body of teachings and insight commentary called The New Message. It's a new message for humanity. And a big part of that has to do with our encounter with this greater community of intelligent life, because that has a lot to do with why we're all here in the world at this time. But we as terrestrial dwellers do not yet have the wisdom, or nor the perspective, or the insight enough yet to be able to comprehend this greater community sufficiently so that we as the native peoples of the world do not make the kind of critical errors that the native peoples in the past have made regarding their first contacts with explorers from beyond.
That's a great point here, Safety Edge made. Do you think it's weird that it is focused on Western Christianity as opposed to Eastern religions? Yeah, and I was going to see maybe my buddy Chase could hop in here, but he might be busy. But that's kind of the point, right? Like, let's say, and I was raised Catholic, and I'd say I'm agnostic now. I kind of like the ritual of Catholicism and whatnot. Like, if I was to have kids, I think I might even baptize them and stuff like that. I just like hearing Latin chanted. But what if like all these little stories we're hearing in the back channels was all for like, like a Muslim person or something like that? Like somebody who felt like that was like full on in, like, you know what I mean? Maybe Sharia law type stuff. Wouldn't we be concerned if like the Congress people at the helm or the intel agents helping the Congress people at the helm or putting them in contact with that, or Buddhists or any other thing, right? It's kind of like this disclosure concept, so big, so broad. Like is Jesus canon lore now? Because part of disclosure is Grusch and Burlison talking about this guy and his experiences. You know what I mean? Like, is that part of this whole thing? Worth considering. CB says, do you have a compound, sir? Not yet. Hopefully soon. Deja vu. Telepathy tapes. Teachers often said they heard voices of children in their minds. Oh yeah, they're interesting, aren't they? Dude thinks he's the world savior from aliens, huh? Okay, I think that's about it. I don't know should we play a little more of this, I guess? I don't know. Let's a little more.
I consider the voice of the voice, the primary voice, to be an angelic voice. And it was this angelic voice that began to speak to me in my work with blind children. Because anyone who works with the handicapped has to be able to develop certain kinds of intuitive skills. You can't go by the book if you're really going to teach young people how to be independent livers or live independently. And so this voice grew in scope and power for me to such a point that it began to give me curricula to teach. And I taught that curriculum and I also studied it.
What do you guys think? If you start hearing a voice telling you to do shit and change your life plans, are you guys listening to it? I'd be a little sussed out of it. I'd be like, who the fuck do you think you are, brother? And then maybe I'd do it. Maybe if they gave me some powers, then I'd be like, okay. But even then, demons and shit could give you powers. Real quick, we got a super chat. Resolute Decide says, Panda, please look into the God helmet and transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's how UAP mess with people's minds. Yeah, okay, we'll play a little more of this.
I also made myself
Thank you.
the first student of my work always. And this built up to such a point that I had an epiphany of my own, because certainly that voice isn't here simply to make you feel comfortable or to make you happy, but to ask you to do something significant.
Our Nerd City friend of the show says, do you think Tom DeLonge is dropping off the topic because his handlers keep pressing the angels and demons narrative? I always get the sense he doesn't like that. I feel like some shady stuff happened with DeLonge and Elizondo, and probably in the back channels, right? And I feel like maybe he got like, did a little look around. But then again, who knows? He's a Freemason. Maybe he's part of the whole thing. I do miss Tom DeLonge. I'll play that real quick. This happened. I clipped it up, so why not? There we go.
There's all these fucking videos of things coming out of the water.
That's where I would hide if I was trying to hide, or even, you know.
I mean, if you've mastered gravity to the point where you create like a bubble around everything you are and you travel through it without any resistance whatsoever.
Yeah, so this is they're about to start talking about Tom DeLonge. This is a recent Joe Rogan.
However, and they've clocked things going underwater that are going like 500 knots underwater. You have no idea how it does that.
Yeah, well, it's all kind of it's like this. I mean, you probably know more about this than me, but my only exposure to the kind of UAP thing was traditionally through. I'm a big fan of Blink 182, and there's Tom DeLonge.
I've had Tom DeLonge.
Yeah, you've had him on.
Yeah.
You've had Travis on as well. You
Yeah,
need to get
Travis
Mark on. He's the third.
Yeah,
he's complete the set.
I love Travis.
I'm in a band.
Not that I don't love Tom either. I just thought he was crazy.
Awesome.
I thought he was crazy when I had him on before.
You silly guest. This is the Joe Rogan show. Come on.
And now I'm like, damn, I think he might be onto something.
Well, he's so cool. He's
But
always
also-
been like an inspiration for me. Like I make music, and he's been, a big, inspiration for me. But he always got me into. He kind of got me into the UAP thing from a
He's
while
all
ago.
in.
Yeah,
He's all in. But
Sorry, damn. I was muted there. But yeah, he said that I like from there was that he doesn't know if he's crazy anymore, because yeah, Rogan was kind of a dick to him back in the day. But there's my thoughts on that, and yeah, I guess we'll just read through the chat and then hop off here. We'll bring up my little closing thing, so we got that here. All right. What water videos is Jogan referencing here? I don't know. Tom DeLonge is the smartest man in ufology. Hey, people like to knock him, but he did accomplish some stuff. B, yeah, because he's so much smarter than Indigenous. Okay. B, cult. Are you posting on YouTube too? Yes. And on the X post about this, in the comment, there's a YouTube link. Great stream. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I went a little longer. I always try to make it, they always go longer, but we're having fun. The adversary. There is Abdullah Hashem and the Islam Front. He claims to be Mahdi, and he got to start speaking on disclosure topics. Is that the guy who, I think so, yeah. What's up, RBK and Skyfire News Crew, says Jam and Music Man. Hell yeah, nice to see you. I forgot to subscribe to your channel. Let's fix that. Yep. All right, well, thank you guys. With that, we're going to close out. Everyone have a great day. Peace.